Hi, I'm Evan, and this is the STEM Fair project me, Austin, Alex, and Benaya have been working on. This is our Google Doc about stopping pollution. Pollution is a very serious topic in our planet today, and we believe that we can make a difference. Um, the word pollution means to like it's the presence in or introduction into the environment of a substance or a thing that has harmful or poisonous effects. Thank you to the Oxford Dictionary. The word pollution generally relates to the contaminants in wildlife generally caused by humans. We do a lot of the damage in our planet, from polluting it to just destroying it in general. But that's not good, so we'll try to improve. Um, the goal of this Google Doc is to inform people and persuade people. Um, we're going to inform them on the ways of pollution and try to persuade them not to cause as much damage. And hopefully, this will help reduce some of the pollution in our world. Um, okay, so pollution is when we add a solid or a liquid or a gas into the ecosystem at a faster rate than it can be recycled or reused or decomposed. Um, there are many different types of pollution. Some of the ones I'll be talking about are noise pollution, light pollution, plastic pollution, air pollution, water pollution, and land pollution. There is also such thing as natural pollution, and that's such as like volcanoes, forest fires, and stuff like that. Any damage to the environment. So, pollution does a lot of damage to wildlife. It has killed around 1 million birds and 100,000 sea creatures. It's a lot. Mostly mammals have been killed, though, by pollution in the environment. It affects about 100 million people worldwide. Uh, so, ships that have like dumped lots of trash into the ocean um, are a big reason for the sea pollution and the water pollution. 14 million pounds of trash were dumped into the ocean from cargo ships and other ships like that. Thank you to the National Academy of Science on that one. Many things that produce pollution are exhaust pipes, coal, chemicals. Also, when we create electricity, it does some damage to the air. These things cause problems for not only us, but it also causes problems for animals too and the wildlife. Um, Pollution can be spread around by water currents or wind, and those things can carry harmful materials, and that's bad for the environment. They're also able to travel super far. They can go globally very quickly. But air pollution is one of the types of pollution I'm going to be talking about. And air pollution is a very important one. It's usually the most common pollution. That's one of the reasons I'm going to be talking about it first. But let's start by talking about the most common pollution, air pollution. So, air pollution, it's a mixture of the gases in the air and the solids particles in the air that we put into the sky and oxygen, and ozone, which is a gas. It's a huge part of pollution in our major cities, and um, ozone forms air pollution, and when it does, it becomes smog. So the air inside buildings can also be polluted and is also able to cause as much damage as oxygen that has been polluted outside. But it can do a serious effect on your health, so you got to be careful with those things. Also, people with a heart or lung disease are at a higher risk for being affected by this air pollution if they breathe in the chemicals. That's not good. The best way to help reduce air pollution is by creating new ways to power our machines. That's a very important way to reduce the pollution in the air. The next kind of pollution is also very important. It's probably one of the most known pollutions and the one most people think about. It's called plastic pollution. Usually, plastic pollution, when we think about it, is like pictures like this, like bottles and bags washed up on beaches or in oceans, affecting sea creatures or something like that. But the pollution type that mankind is very concerned about is definitely plastic pollution. And um, they're concerned for a good reason because um, plastic can do a lot of damage to our sea, our oceans, and it can also hurt our oxygen in the air as well. But 4.5 billion plastic bags are given away each year in just the state of New Jersey alone. New Jersey is kind of a small state, so that's big for the entire world. Just imagine how much it does globally. Um, when plastic ends up in the water, it dissolves into like tiny little pieces of plastic, and we call that microplastic. And it's not always good because fish can eat that plastic, that microplastic, and not only does it harm the fish, but other sea creatures that come to eat that fish also get harmed by the microplastic, and also people, seafood lovers, they like to eat their fish, and if the fish is filled with microplastic, that's not good for their health. So, um, we also drink water with microplastic, and that is not at all good because water is obviously one of the ways we stay alive, and that's damaging to our health. Then that's bad. So the plastics in the water, the microplastic, they let out toxic compounds, which is the main reason why it's so bad for us. But it can destroy our health, and yeah, it's bad. So not only does it hurt us, it also hurts animals. But a good way to help end plastic pollution is by using reusable bags instead of plastic bags. Um, Plastic bags are a very big cause of the plastic pollution on our planet. Um, Plastic bags, when you look at them, you usually don't think, wow, this is a destroying tool of our planet. But usually you just think, wow, this is something to carry my stuff in. Okay, then. But plastic bags used in the wrong way can actually be very damaging. So, two pollutions that are not really focused on are noise and light pollution. They're not really dealt with noise and light, even though it's called that. It's more on focusing of energy that is wasted, and noise pollution is caused when a developed building releases loud sounds for like a long time, such as like a highway or loud roads, or like a concert or a music festival or something like that that causes a lot of noise that can hurt our environment. But noise pollution can disrupt sleep and cause stress, whereas light pollution is an excessive amount of light that is harmful to not only animals but also harmful to us humans. This pollution can cause the stars to be dimmed out by all the light, which can confuse animals, and it can disrupt a sleep schedule, not only for us but for animals as well. The use of artificial light is also able to disrupt nearby traffic. But one way to help the community you live in is by turning off lights when they are not in use. That obviously saves your electricity bill. But anyway, pay attention to how much noise you produce, and using only necessary lighting that you need. Don't leave all the lights on in the house because that could damage your environment. Okay, natural pollution. I mentioned it early on. But natural pollution, like I said, was forest fires, volcanoes, such as that. But these pollutants involve, forest fires and volcanoes. So forest fires are not always bad, but they can be very damaging because they destroy trees, and it's like, okay, trees, they're being destroyed, okay. But then you think about it and you're like, well, those are actually a lot of the habitat. That's a lot of the habitats for many of the animals in our planet. No matter where they live, a lot of them use trees to survive or live in. So with all those trees being destroyed, we do not, the animals do not like it, and neither do we. So, especially when volcanoes happen, those are another way. Any animals are normally not always humans, but sometimes humans and animals can be in the path of a volcano and can be very critically damaged, and that is not always good. It's actually not really ever good. But there is such thing as controlled fires that happen in forests sometimes, and they can be helpful to the forest environment because if there are like plants that are overgrown and destroying other plants or other habitats, those can be burned away and the animals can live freely. But yeah, back to volcanoes. Volcanoes. There is not much we can do to stop a volcano from erupting. Actually, I don't know if there's anything we can do at all, but we can try to avoid them and rescue animals that are caught in the middle of a volcano's path. But um, we don't want any animals dying of lava because that would just be so sad. Anyway, um, volcanoes are very dangerous, and we can try to learn as much about them as we can, and we can try to help the animals and humans involved in those situations. Okay, so volcanoes are very dangerous, but we can make a difference in our planet's pollution. We can use, if you've heard of them, they're called the three R's: reuse, reduce, and recycle. Thank you. Okay. There are other ways, though, that we can um, stop pollution. Um, One of those ways is to recycle. And recycling is very important if we want to keep the planet um, long lasting and safe for the people who will be living in the future ahead of us. And it definitely helps the environment if we um, reuse, reduce, and recycle, because when we're recycling, we take what we don't need and we create it into something that we do need. And that really helps the plants and animals and humans in our ecosystems. So we definitely should not be careless when it comes to uh, taking care of our planet. Many animals are dying from these circumstances. And so when we recycle, we conserve materials, we save energy, and we definitely reduce garbage in landfills. Um, and we reduce air pollution, water pollution. But some examples of recycling are recycling, like, say, an aluminum can, um, and that can make us able to save enough energy in a TV for approximately 3 hours, which is very helpful. Also, if we take our recyclables down to a local recycling center, that helps us to recreate, like I said before, into something new. And it is also helpful to try to stay away from using plastic bags. They're very damaging to our environment. Um, but also, when we recycle and we take it into a recycling center, that is a good idea. And because normally we're thinking, oh, well, I just put it in my recycling bin, and then the guys come and take it or like once a week or something like that. But that doesn't always work. Normally, back in the good old days, we would take our recycling bins down to the recycling center, and the people would maybe give us some money for it, and we'd be like, oh, good, nice. And then, um, but they would have to be cleaned out. And if you take some aluminum cans down there and they still have a little bit of soda in them, the guys would be like, no, you can't do that. So we would have to clean them out and then bring them back later, and then maybe you would give us our money. But the thing is, when we put it in a recycling bin, we don't have that accountability. Like, oh, no, you need to clean this out, or else I'm not going to take it. Because if we don't and they can't go to the recycling centers, some of that actually ends up in a landfill. Because recycling, it's a very good thing to do, but some of the time it doesn't always work. So we have to be very careful, and taking it down to a recycling center is a good idea because then we have that accountability. Um, Recycling and reducing and reusing are all good ideas. And we really need to do that if we want to save the environment. Again, with volcanoes and forest fires and natural pollution, those aren't always easy to stop, but we can try to end some of those damage and take care of the animals that have been hurt. And also, light and noise pollution. That one's probably one of the easiest ways to help stop pollution. Just turn off your lights. You don't need all that light in the house. All you need is enough light to sustain you for if you're in one room and there's only one of you, then you don't have to have all the lights in the house. And noise, definitely we need to be careful how much noise we're using. So, plastic pollution. This is a big one. We have to be careful with the amount of plastic that we're using. If you use too much plastic, you can end up hurting some poor sea creatures, and that would not be good. Also, the microplastic. If you like seafood, and if you don't like seafood, it's still not good to put your plastic in the ocean. But the thing is, we don't want those animals being hurt by by the microplastic in our waters, and that is not good. Um, Air pollution, again, it's one of the most concerned about most common pollutions. We really need to be careful. All the big factories around, like in this picture, they're very damaging to the sky and the air and the oxygen we breathe. So, if you want to breathe in good oxygen, try to help stop air pollution. It is a very dangerous topic. Um, we need to be careful. So, again, it is very important for us to um, try to um, stop pollution. It seems like a very hard thing to do to completely end it, but we can do what we can and we can try to stop pollution. We can make a difference, and it is very possible. So if we want to keep our planet long lasting, then it is okay, and we'll all just try to do what we can and help the environment. We can definitely make a difference, though, I believe. All right. Thank you for listening to that. That was um, it was a great thing to do to learn about the effects of pollution and what it does to the environment. But now it is over, so thank you for listening, and bye bye.